And hello, everybody. You're live at SherryTalkRadio, Monday night, May 12th. If you have a question or comment for the show, you can send it to SherryTalkRadio at yahoo.com. There's also a link on the website. I wanted to talk this week about several different things I've been seeing that have caught my eye. I have spent a lot of time in the codes, and as usual. And one of the most dominant things I keep seeing in the codes over and over and over again, week after week, especially since the beginning of this year, is the impending destruction of Satan's forces. And we're not going to obviously destroy all of them. He'll be allowed to have a remnant, but we are knocking out a majority of them. And so it's really funny to see. A lot of this is going to really hit a nail on the head in the upcoming months when they try to make their arrival to Earth. And we're going to see the fruit of our work over the last years with the orgone. Just sickening them, making them sick, all these delays being caused. And so one of the things that really got me thinking the other day is I told you last week that a lot of times when I see things in the codes, I don't know if it's things happening in the physical realm or just in the spiritual realm in the background, and I don't know if they're going to come out public or just stay in the background. But one of the things that interests me is that I'm seeing Maitreya less in the codes and more of the Sananda. And I always see Maitreya associated with death, and so I always just assume that he's the one causing a lot of death because he really is a psycho-tyrant that was planning to come to Earth and just take over the world for global Islam. It's almost like a two Antichrist setup deal. He comes first, and then Sananda would come second, the two beasts on the Earth. I'm starting to wonder if the orgone isn't going to totally emaciate him to where he just dies, because I see the term emaciation a lot with both of them, the first beast and the second beast. And so that would really be amusing, and that would also be a route to take them completely out of the picture, and then we're dealing with humans as beasts. And I've said before that Obama is touted in the Bible codes as a lizard. He's working the alien agenda. And so interesting that he is becoming more and more dominant in the codes. And there's always different routes. I've told you there's 2 or 3 different routes at one time. If they don't go down road A, then they'll go down road B. Nothing is set in stone. They can change their plans. And so that's always something you have to watch for. And I've always had the attitude that, well, if we know what all their plans are, then they can't take us by surprise by anything. Because we know all the routes they can take. We know what they can do, so they're not going to catch us by surprise. We can just recognize what they're doing, what's going on, and know what's going to happen from that point on. And so that's the biggest thing, is just not, is knowing what their plans are, and knowing what their agenda is. And so either route, if Bush works this year to stay in office and throw off the elections and manage to stay in office for next year, that's one route. Another one that I'm seeing strongly right now is Obama coming into office and inheriting the Orgone warriors. And so I thought that was really funny, because that seems to be the most dominant problem, other than just establishing the New World Order agenda on Earth with Satan, working secretly with him. Is the fact that he inherits this mess. And so I thought it was funny, a real testament to the Orgone warriors out there and the Lord's people, the 144,000 who have stood up and who are putting Orgone all over the world, because it makes it very hard for them to be here. In a lot of instances you'll see, well, they'll need inhalers just to breathe because they can't handle the air. And so that's just a heads up on some of the things. Recently, something set out on the internet about Obama backing the UN bill to disarm Americans. And I wanted to talk about this because it has several points in it on things that I have seen in the Bible codes, and things I've already been talking about and warning about, and now Obama is taking a lead on it. Obama's bill, and you can Google it at S2433, would require the U.S. to direct 7% of our gross national product into the United Nations coffers for distribution as they see fit, for food to third world nations. And so basically what that is we're now going to be giving 7% under Barack Obama, would be giving 7% of our GNP, and we already know most of our manufacturing and most of our jobs have already headed south and west and east, everywhere but America. And now what little money the United States is making, they're going to commit 7% of it to third world nations. It also forces the United States to sign on to the UN's Millennium Declaration, which would commit us not only to banning small arms and light weapons, but also to adhere to the International Criminal Court Treaty and the Kyoto Protocol. And you can go to WashingtonWatch.com for more information on that. But what I found interesting is the UN's Millennium Declaration, because this declaration I have seen in the codes. I have also seen where people would be subject to the International Criminal Court. And I've talked about that before. I don't know how they were going to do it, but every time I turn around in the codes, I see more legislation that Bush is signing on to, or whoever's president at the time. Because I've seen Americans being accused as being terrorists and then exported to other countries to stand trial in those countries that are accusing them of being terrorists. And so I think at this point you could pretty much call the Constitution dead. Define terrorists. You know, I've always said one nation's hero is another nation's terrorist. But when you go under global world rule, like we're headed to under the United Nations, Japan can call an American a terrorist and have that terrorist exported to Japan to stand trial. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Japan, but you better believe it's going to happen to a lot of big mouths on the internet and Christians and patriots who are strong, Bible-believing, patriotic Americans being labeled as terrorists by Islamic regimes, and then being exported to Arabia to stand trial. Things that wouldn't be considered crimes in America, but considered crimes to Muslims. And so it's going to get very chaotic, very interesting. I've known that one's coming for a long, long time. It's just amazing when you start seeing this legislation coming out, and they're sneaking it in, and they're getting everything set up. I guess to know about it's one thing, but to actually see it being set up is interesting. I don't fear any of this stuff, and I don't think you guys should either. I'm just giving you the setup on what they're doing. If you want to know what's going to happen in the last days, all you have to do is read the book of Revelation. You know, what's the one thing the churches don't do anymore is teach Bible prophecy. And so don't count on your churches to teach you Bible prophecy. Get in the Bible, start reading it, and ask the Lord to lead you through it, to teach you it, to help you to understand it. Because that's the only way you're really going to get a handle on the things that are coming up, especially when they take people like me off of the internet to where we can no longer speak on the internet, to where our recordings are all hijacked and taken off the internet. Now they've been messing with my websites for years. I don't know how many times they go through and change links so that people can't access the links on my website. It's all the time. They do it all the time. Or they mess with links and graphs so pictures don't come up, or YouTube videos don't come up. They do it all the time. They've been sabotaging my websites for years. And so now you'll see it more and more to where they give themselves the legal authority to do so by bills Bush is passing. And it's like they've been doing it for years anyway. Now it's just becoming more public. What I find interesting again is that under this same bill that Obama is backing, is that we're basically looking at a global slave tax under the UN, and that can be increased at any time. So not only are we paying federal, state, and local taxes, we're now going to have a UN tax. It's global slavery tax, folks. And so I might put this up on my. I don't know if it's already been put out on my list somewhere. It's also called the Millennium Project. You can Google that. And it's just more setup, more Obama.